Once upon a time, we measured the distance in darkness. What is spoken will eventually come to light. Water captures your reflection. I capture human interactions. Create human-like conversational dialogue to help you write a blog, to cut down hours of prep that you log. I'm an engineer in marble. Who better to break down the Constitution? Who better to show and explain the revolution? Who better to uncover the truth? Montanna, Uncle Rico, Gerry, Rod. We are a reflection of our country's scars. The Doneson Podcast. Show them who we are.
You know I love you so. We're back, we're here. Let the music take control. The season's here. In case you didn't know, we're glad you're here. I hope you like the show. For many years. Let's start the show.
So I got a job, a landscaping job at Home Depot.
Huh? Wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
You got a landscaping job at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Okay, come on with this.
Right.
Now,
I want to hear this one. Okay.
now I was fired.
Of course.
And the reason I was fired is because I kept pulling out weed.
Yeah. You know what? The wrong kind of weed.
It's time for...
Help him, Lord. Help him.
Help us.
I mean, I didn't know you couldn't.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it's only weed.
Okay, all right.
Whatever you say.
All right. Shout out Montana.
What's that?
The letter. Let's get it.
Get it. All right. So today's letter is titled, I Guess I'm the Government. And they are located in Vienna, Virginia. And they are 5'8". They weigh 232 pounds. And they said their attractiveness is 6.6. They put in parentheses, go to attractivetest.com/upload your picture. So,
Okay.
I guess it's a service out here like Kevin Samuel.
R.I.P.
But they say their name is anonymous. Anonymous.
Oh,
You know,
no.
they back at it. They back at it. Everybody's scared.
Everybody's
Scared. All right. So the letter reads, I come from a family where the breadwinner, my dad, took care of the family. And he said, one day I want you to start a family of your own and be the breadwinner, meaning pay all the bills. Love at first sight, should I say less? Nothing like a summer dress and the smell of a rose fragrance as she's passing me by. I said to her, if good gracious of life was a person, She turned around and smiled. 2 lunches, 4 dinners, and 2 vacations later, we're married. Oh, it was easy. Like Sunday morning.
That's not enough.
Yeah. Like any marriage, we have to start. Like any marriage we start, we're going to have challenges. Not with money, but with affection. You see, 3 months into our marriage, I paid all of my wife's bills. Attaboy. Her car, credit cards, and the biggest, her student loans. What is this, Negro?
Man, she must have went to an HBCU.
Oh, you know what? He said I took a sum of money in my savings and paid off about $88K of her debt. Sorry, I mean our debt. Lord, I've seen what you can do for others. Our plan, I told her when we get married, was to get her out of debt and let's start building for our retirement, our future. Filled with vacation and travel to the farthest parts of the world, Great Pyramids, Havana, Cuba, Morocco, Venice, Athens, just to name a few places we talked about. But let me get right down to it. You see, a couple of weeks ago, she's been going over and staying at her mother's house. Sometimes after work, she'll call and say, we've been drinking. I'm going to sleep this off, and then I'll come home. Coming home was 2 days ago. Oh, she bullshit.
Damn.
Uh-oh.
I drive over to the mother's house and I see her car in the driveway, but no one answers the door. I call both phones. No one answers. I drive to a local bar to get my mind off of my worries. Then my phone rings. It's her, my wife. Hey, what's going on? I blurt out. I hear a 10-second pause. Then the soft-spoken voice says, honey, I know this is not a good time to tell you this, but I'm unhappy and I think we should go our separate ways.
I guess the last check of the student loan must have been paid off. Montana, what you think about this?
She must have had a zero balance.
Montana,
If use what you got to get what you want was a person, it would be her. I think,
Montana, be honest with this.
I'm going to be honest with it. And I think in this situation, earlier on in the letter, he talked about like their timeline. And mind you, I'm sure he was summarizing. But he did say like 2 lunches, 4 dinners, 2 vacations later, we were married. So it does sound like, even though I'm sure that wasn't it, it does still sound like there was a very small window because he mentioned a couple of other things that indicated time.
Right.
I think it was a very small window that he took to get to know this person. And it seemed like, he might have just had in his mind that he wanted to get married, he wanted to get with this woman, and he wanted to live his happily ever after. However, I always caution, men and women, you have to be mindful of who you are dealing with. And the only way you can get to know who you are dealing with is if you take time to get to know, to ask the right questions, find out their history. You got to do your homework. So I'm not saying it's an exact timeline, but it sounds like he moved really fast and he got with someone who had a different agenda. Because I'll tell you, if you get with somebody really quickly, say if it was just 3 months and this man showed up and decided that he was going to pay her bills, pay all her student loans, and say he wasn't really even the guy she wanted. What Snoop said that time about Black China and Rob Kardashian, she saw a sucker and she licked it. So if you see a man in a lot of instances, and being honest with women, if you see a man, you could have known him for 3 months, but if he already talking good game and he's showing you early on like he about what he's saying, even if you don't like him, you're going to stick around because, especially as you get older, she's just not like some women who would say, I'm going to just stay here for the long haul. It sounds like she got what she wanted out of the deal. A man around for a while. She got married. She got her bills paid. I'm sure he was giving her money in other areas. Like he set her life up nicely. But the whole time, she probably was not in love with this man. If she over her mammy house, it probably was somebody else over there because her mammy probably trifling too. And so the fact that she calling saying, I'm not happy and I think we should go our separate ways, she'd already made up her mind. Because most times if people got some BS going on, it might be, I'm unhappy, I'm going to work on it. She ready to go. So she probably been ready to go from the beginning. She just need, like you said, being funny but very serious. Once she got what she needed from him, she was out. So it's unfortunate for him, but the bottom line of it is you have to really get to know a person. You got to know their motives. And I understand, I want a man to come stay with me too and pay my student loans. That'd be great. I think a man should. A man say you want to take care of home, take care of home. But just be cautious. And I know women might not like this, but you got to be cautious of who you're dealing with if you are in it for the long time to make sure you're not dealing with somebody just in it for a good time.
What you think about this letter?
He was in love with her and she was in love with the opportunity.
So say, talk to me.
I wonder how often does that go?
Goes very often. Man.
For real?
Yeah.
I wish I could run up on one.
That's a common phenomenon.
I'm waiting.
You know what I'm saying?
Like solar eclipses.
Well, how do you know? How do you know?
You don't know.
You don't know. But
people that good guys.
Like Montana said earlier, I think he moved way too quick. He moved way too quick. He didn't really get to know this woman. Get to know her family, her mama, because it's obvious her mama was in the game with her.
Yeah.
Because her car was just parked at her mama's house.
Yeah.
She was
there.
And that's where her mama didn't answer the door.
Yeah, her mama was there. She wasn't.
She was down with the game too.
Yeah.
So come on, man. Yeah. No. Yeah, he didn't take his time. He didn't do his due diligence.
Yeah. Because if you give it a little bit of time, most times people show their colors sooner than you think.
Yeah.
Wow.
You give it a good 6 months. Even though people's representatives sometimes takes longer, but a lot of times, at least by 6 months, you're starting to see a little bit. You know enough.
You know something's up. You be like, hey, it's whether you want to deal with it.
You see one or two things that make you pause. You might not stop, but you'll see one or two things in that window to make you pause and think. A lot of times people just ignore them.
Say, okay, wait a minute, hold up, this ain't right.
I bet she had been going off her mama's house well before then doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
He told us this time, but she been doing it.
Man, plotting.
Yep.
All right, it's time for What's Cooking in Your City?
Cooking. I'm hoping something I can eat.
Oh, bonjour. Instant pot jambalaya. Let's begin with the main ingredients. 1 tablespoon of canola oil. Half a pound of smoked sausage sliced into 1/4 inch thick rounds. 1 pound boneless, skinless chicken thighs, about 4 of them, cut into 1-inch pieces. Before you put them in the pot, smack the thighs like you at the booty club. Woo! Yeah! 2 half teaspoons of Cajun seasoning, such as Slap Ya Mama. They also have Slap Your Baby's Mama on sale. It's a little cheaper. 3/4 cup chopped yellow onion. Half a cup of chopped celery from 1 large stalk. Half a cup of chopped green and red bell pepper. 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. 3 cups of chicken broth. If you can't find the broth, you can use Colt 45. 1 pound of medium peel deveined raw shrimp. Don't buy any raw shrimp from Mississippi. They tend to be small and malnourished. Half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. 1/4 spoon of kosher salt. 1/4 spoon of black pepper. 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh flat leaf parsley. Whoa, that's hard to say. Chopped scallions. Directions: cook, stirring often until browned, about 5 minutes, or until it starts to smell good. This dish is sure to get you to home plate. See you next week, where we'll be talking about another amazing dish. Voila!
Voila!
Yeah, voila.
All right, it's time for rapid fire. The judicial system is divided into 2 main levels.
Federal court, state courts.
That's right. Appellate courts are typically composed of how many judges?
3.
In the United States, there are 2 levels of appellate courts. Name them.
State and federal.
In order for a case to be heard in the Supreme Court, how many justices have to agree?
Only 4 of the 9 justices
That
have to
is
agree.
correct. All right. Now, in this journey, we talk about the judicial branch, right? Now, I have a southern accent, so I might not be say that right. To the judicial branch. All right. Only attending my time in lower Mississippi.
You know what? He love a habitual line stepper.
Now, under the Supreme Court are 13 counts of appeals. The courts of appeals hear appeals from the district courts. The courts of appeals are composed of 3 judges who are appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Under the courts of appeals are 94 district courts. The district courts are the trial courts of the federal court system. The district courts hear a wide variety of cases, including civil cases, criminal cases, and bankruptcy cases. The district courts are composed of 1 or more judges who are appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. In addition to the federal court system, each state has its own court system. The state court system are responsible for hearing cases that involve state law. The state court systems are generally divided into 2 courts and appeals courts. Gerry.
This sounds interesting.
Okay, check this out. Now, one example of a district court in the United States or the Northern District of California. The Northern District of California is one of the busiest district courts in the United States. And it hears a wide variety of cases, including civil, criminal cases, and bankruptcy cases. The court is located in San Francisco, California, and it has jurisdictions over 7 counties. The court is composed of 25 judges. Another example, each court of appeals has its own jurisdiction and its own set of judges. There are 2 courts of appeals in Tennessee, the Tennessee Court of Appeals and the Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals. We're just bringing it back home, right? Now, the Tennessee Court of Appeals hears appeals from trial courts in civil cases. The court has 12 judges who sit in panels of 3. The panels meet monthly in Jackson, Knoxville, and Nashville. The Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals hears appeals from trial courts in criminal cases. The court has 12 judges who sit in a panel of 3. The panel meets monthly, and again, Jackson, Knoxville, and Nashville as well. The decision of both courts of appeals are final unless the case is appealed to the Tennessee Supreme Court. Now, let's check out the Supreme Court, y'all. The Supreme Court, which is the judicial branch, is headed by the Supreme Court, which is made up of 9 justices who are nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Gerry, take off.
Let me take a shot of naming all 9 justices, cuzzo. Associate Justice Clarence Thomas. Associate Justice Stephen Breyer. Associate Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Associate Justice Samuel Alito, Associate Justice Alina Kagan, Associate Justice Neil Gorsuch, Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh, Associate Justice Amy Coney Barrett.
And of course, we cannot forget Associate Justice John Roberts either. Now, the Supreme Court of the United States was established Article 3 in the United States Constitution. The court was created to be the highest court in the land and to have the power to interpret the Constitution. The court's first session was held on February the 2nd, 1790 in New York City. The court's first case was Van versus Maryland. The case involved a dispute between a Dutch merchant and a state of Maryland over a debt. The court ruled in favor of the merchant, holding that the state of Maryland could not interfere with a contract between a citizen of one state and a citizen of another state. Here are some other interesting facts about the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court building is located on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. The Supreme Court building is made up of white marble and has a large dome. The Supreme Court building has 9 courtrooms, 1 for each justice. The Supreme Court building has a library that contains 2 million books and legal documents. Now, Montana, have you ever visited D.C. and looked at the Supreme Court?
I've been to D.C., but I have not visited the Supreme Court.
Okay, correct. Now, the Supreme Court has made many decisions and has been the controversial and unpopular. Some of the most notable bad moments of the Supreme Court: Dred Scott versus Sanford, 1857. The court ruled that African Americans were not citizens and had no rights under the Constitution. Now, some say that it was better back then because we were closer together. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Why you agree with that,
Because we were forced to stay together, stick together, and watch out for one another. Today, it's cutthroat.
Okay. Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896. The court upheld the constitutionality of racial segregation, ruling that separate but equal facilities were unconstitutional.
Yeah, those white-only bathrooms are so small. Daddy, we don't need to bring those back.
Okay. Now, Roe versus Wade, 1973. Good gracious. The court ruled that the Constitution protects a woman's right to have an abortion. Bush versus Gore, 2000. The court effectively decided the outcome of the 2000 presidential election by halting a recount of votes in Florida. These are just a few of the many bad moments in the history of the Supreme Court. The court has made many decisions that have been unpopular and controversial, and is likely to continue to do so in the future. Now, the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear arguments in a number of important cases in 2024. Check this out, y'all. Moore versus Harper, which challenges the power of state courts to review election laws set by state legislators. The case could have a major impact on the 2024 election and future elections. Carson's versus Macon, which is following up to the 23 case in the same name. The case could determine whether public funding can be used to support religious schools. The Supreme Court is also expected to issue rulings on a number of other important cases in 2024, including case involving affirmative action. Voting rights and the ruling in these cases could have a major impact on American society. It is important to note that these are just a few of the cases that the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear in 2024. The court could also hear cases on a variety of other important issues, including gun control, immigration, and health care.
I'm really interested in hearing about what they're going to do with the affirmative action piece. They'll probably add animals, so a pig will probably get hired before me. I mean, the whole office is going to smell like chitlins. Who warmed up chitlins in the microwave?
It is also important to remember that the judicial system is not perfect. There are many challenges that the judicial system faces, such as bias, corruption, and lack of resources. It is important to be aware of these challenges and to work to improve the judicial system. That being said, here's some tough questions I want to ask each one of you. Okay? Montana, If you were on the Supreme Court, how would you rule on Dred Scott versus Sanford, 1857? The court ruled that African Americans were not citizens and had no rights under the Constitution.
Well, I think we should know I'm opposed to that we are full citizens and we have full rights. So, I mean, I would be in favor of us winning that case.
Okay. Now, sometimes in politics, when you're in politics, things benefit you, but it may not benefit others.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been a time in your life where you've done something that has benefited you, but you knew wouldn't benefit others? And if so, how and why?
Benefited me, but who? Let me think. Yeah, like benefited me, but didn't benefit others. I'm sure, there's something in my life that I took advantage of in the most positive way ever that benefited me. I can't think of like an example, and if I could, I don't know if I would share it.
Well, who's listening?
But it's
You
just
go ahead and
being
share it,
honest.
Montanna.
And being honest in life. I mean, I'm sure there's been an opportunity where I've done something or had an opportunity that I know was going to push me ahead, but not necessarily others. I actually can't think of an example that I'm not going to say out loud. No.
Please.
No.
No.
So, no.
Montana.
No.
Can't do it.
Can you
No.
say,
Won't do it.
I'll say that in dealing, I'll be very general. I'll say just sometimes in dealing with certain situations, sometimes you have things that may be presented to you for different reasons. Maybe a person, you run into things in life where people may just like you over liking other people. Like not like a physically attracted, but like you're just the fan favorite for whatever
as a
reason.
person, yeah.
Yeah, as a person. They just like you better than they like everybody else. And certain opportunities may be presented to you where you realize like, yeah, I could pull somebody else in on this, but I'm just going to give it a run for my money. Take off. So I'll say it's definitely happened. Not a whole lot because I don't have a lot of examples in my mind, but I think you're running a life when you are a winner. That does tend to happen. So.
If you were on the Supreme Court, how would you rule on affirmative action? Because some people say it's a crutch, right? That is holding us back as African Americans.
No damn crutch.
Well,
How do you feel? You're on the Supreme Court. You have a robe on right now. Would you say get it out of here, or would you say it's here to stay? Either choice. Why?
I would say let's give African America even playing field, but not as a crutch to hold them up above any other race. Just level the playing field, man. Make it. See, this thing they keep talking about equality. It's hard for people to keep it equal when you feel you're above.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem right there. It's just hard for the human being to allow everyone to be on the same plane. It's just difficult. And it can bounce in any race. I ain't just talking about black and white, I'm talking about any race. It's just people's natural instinct is to take care of themselves, which is right. Take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. Take care of your race. Take care of your people. But not to the extent where you're willing to deny another set of people the same thing that you enjoy. Right. Keep it level, man. And it's the human being, because we so faulty, man, it's hard. You can see it in the Black American community as well. People get wealthy, get high up and get the movement, and they change.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've changed. Have you changed about that?
Not at all.
No, I'm serious. No, on serious level. People change, man. And power and money does that. It would do it. And that's why the lobbyists is so strong in Washington.
Uh-huh.
Money and power will make you do some strange things, man. And it's hard to fight against it. It takes a very special person or human being to hold to their convictions when they're presented with things that they never imagined they could have.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever been in spaces of power?
Yeah.
And they said, hey, you have access to this. And you knew if you took it, you would go down that rabbit hole. Have you ever been in a situation like that and you took it?
I've seen situations like that, but no, I ain't been in there where I'd take it. No, because, let's see.
I mean, it's okay to say if you took it.
No, I'm just saying, if I took it, I'd tell you. I ain't got no problem with it. But what I'm saying is ask that question again, man.
Have you ever been in a smoke-filled room?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm coming to you too, Montanna. So you might as well just get ready. Have you ever been in a smoke-filled room? And you know they got the keys to your salary. They got the keys to your position. And they say, we want you to get rid of these people. And we want you to show favoritism to this person.
See, there we go. See, that's what I'm saying.
That favoritism gets tricky.
And then you're here, Uncle Rico. This is what we want you to do. It's implied. What do you do? Have you?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I've been saying all along. It's that money and that power that make people do strange things.
And have you ever done strange things?
Haven't we all? ain't nobody innocent here. Ain't nobody innocent here, man.
That's to say, me and Montanna are innocent.
No, you ain't.
Have you ever done strange things?
No, ain't nobody innocent here, man. We all did things in life that we would go back and we would regret. We regret. We all done things in life where we'll go back and we'll say, man, I wish I hadn't done that. But that's life.
Mm-hmm.
The key to it is that you learn the vital lesson in the mistake that you made and don't repeat it. Now, if you constantly repeating it, well, then you just a foul person, man.
Well, I don't consider you foul.
I'm just saying.
But have you learned your lesson from those decisions?
I've learned my lesson. I'm this type of person. I'm this type of person, man. I've done some wrong in my life. I'm quite sure everybody has.
Yeah.
You ain't got to hit me in the head twice.
Ha!
Once will suffice.
Yeah,
right.
I'm the same.
I learned my lesson the first time around. You ain't got to do it again. Come on. Really? No, you ain't gonna hit me twice. Once will suffice. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. In life, you got to learn your lessons, man. And when you learn that lesson, you don't violate it no more. You don't go the opposite way. You know what the end results are.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, it's a hard lesson for a lot of people, man, especially doing that money.
Okay. Montanna.
I plead the fifth. Don't waste your time coming over here. I'm a law-abiding citizen, that's it.
Am I the only one that's...
Yeah, I'm corrupt. Me and Aunt gonna sip our tea, move on.
Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee, boy. But y'all know what?
What's that?
What?
Humbly, I say thank you for tuning in to the Doneson Podcast.
Peace out.
Good night.
All right.
Good job, y'all. That's it.
Enjoy a little more sunshine. Oh, baby. Anticipation is that time of the year. The Doneson Podcast is here. This groove moves your soul.